I used to think that long takes were just a gimmick in filmmaking and nothing more than that. My excuse being the following 3 films. I first watched Birdman when I was 15, when I decided to go to film school for my tertiary education. At that point in my life, having not been exposed to many films, my pretentious ass thought that the one-take execution in the film was genius and one of the biggest breakthroughs of the industry. My thoughts were validated when it won Best Cinematography in the Oscars back in 2015, back when I knew nothing about the art of cinematography other than the basic rule of thirds and leading lines. I watched Gravity on an economy airplane seat during a holiday when I was 17, right before I went into film school. My experience watching the film on a screen just slightly bigger than my phone definitely ruined the spectacle of space exploration the director intended to convey. Similarly, there was a spectacular use of long takes. However, I also felt that something was wrong with the film, but I just couldn't explain why at that point. I found my first love interest in film when I learned about Alfred Hitchcock in school. I would research and watch all of his films, analyze the history and the execution of it, build crappy posters inspired by his films, all the typical film school junkie stuff. And that's when I learned about probably the first full-length one-take film in film history, Rope. I went in the film, expected to be dazzled by the craftsmanship and effort to pull off the film. However, 30 minutes in, I was bored out of my mind. The playback mark is still left there, 4 years later. After outgrowing my pretentious film student phase, which took about 2 years of my film school journey, and after a few more crappy long takes and art house films, I have reached my conclusion. Long takes are nothing more than a gimmick to gain recognition and critical acclaim. Until one fateful day, when I decided to watch Ash is Pure as White is about a mob boss's wife's journey in and out of imprisonment, and the deterioration of her relationship with her husband, as well as his health. The series of events occur as the landscape of China changes drastically from chapter to chapter. Jia Zhangke, the director, is known for his realist style as he frequently covers stories about China's society and outcasts. The Chinese title of Ash literally translates to Daughter of the Underworld, the outcasts of the society who are often regarded as leeches or trash. With this context in mind, the purpose behind every one take in the film is revealed to the audience. For what better way is there to convey the idea of social realism than with dreary long takes? The long takes in Ash are well paced, with the camera fixed at one spot, only panning to track the characters' movements. Dramatic movements such as dolling and tilts are seldom used. Having the film shot in such a minimalistic style makes the film feel realistic, as if the events are unfolding before your eyes in real time. The camera plays the role of the spectator in the film, almost documentary-like. This effect complements the director's intention of the film being a commentary of China's society perfectly. After watching Ash, I started to notice long takes with a clear directorial intent. Let's use Roma for an example. Director Alfonso Cuarón, who also directed Gravity, is known for using long takes. The fact that the film was packed with long takes shouldn't come as a surprise, but there was a particular long take that stood out to me, and that's during the halfway mark of the film, when Cleo, the protagonist, was giving birth. This long take of roughly 5 minutes starts from Cleo being wheeled into the operating room. Cleo then successfully gives birth to a baby, but the baby was stillborn. Throughout the rest of the one take, doctors try to resuscitate the baby, but to no avail. Towards the end of the one take, Cleo is then finally allowed to hold her baby for the first and last time, before the doctors take it away. The framing of this one take was very intentional, with the camera focusing on Cleo's reaction and the baby in the background. It only pans when Cleo gives birth to a baby. Watching this whole scene in one take places the viewer on an emotional roller coaster, as they become Cleo in the process of seeing the baby delivered, anticipating the baby's survival as the doctors try to resuscitate it, and crying with Cleo as she cradles its dead body. Cleo becomes a relatable subject due to the nature and the realism of the one take, making the scene raw and authentic. The first 3 long takes that I mentioned, Birdman, Gravity, and Rope, what makes them different from Ash and Roma? The long takes of Ash and Roma had a purpose. They are being used as storytelling devices. In Ash, to show the stark reality of society, and in Roma, to convey Cleo's distress. However, in Gravity and Birdman, the one takes were simply used as a gimmick to show the passage of time. Sure, the passage of time is important in Birdman, as it shows how life in theatre is like, and it certainly is important in Gravity, to show the desperation of Sandra Bullock's character trapped in space. However, the superficiality of these long takes cannot hold the candle to those used in Ash and Roma. Alfred Hitchcock, the master of suspense, felt that the one-take execution he used in Rope was just a stunt and did not add value to the film, as he could have conveyed way more intensity and suspense to the audience with editing techniques. My point is, long takes should have a meaningful underlying purpose. They should be driven by a clear intention to convey an idea to the audience. If it's just there to show the passage of time, or to make a scene more thrilling, well, I think that there are many other storytelling devices that could do the same, or an even better job.